Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as the Flatout Racing Network brings you live coverage of this evening's 8th race of the Adrenaline iRacing League. We are here tonight at the mile-and-a-half D-shaped oval of Texas Motor Speedway. Everything's bigger in Texas, and obviously we're hoping that the racing is going to be big as well. Going to be kind of interesting here with this Texas Motor Speedway. It's the repaved version. Kind of an Achilles heel, kind of a good thing, bad thing. The track gets faster, but it's kind of a one-groove track as well. I'm being joined in the booth here this evening by Matthew Rodriguez. And Matt, what do you think we're going to be seeing here, especially with the fact we got 147 laps to cover?
I mean, obviously, there's going to be some drivers taking it easy early on because with this new tire model, you cannot go flat out right out of the box. I mean, you have to, kind of slowly ramp it up as laps go on. And also another big thing is going to be restarts and cautions because these tires are going to cool down and drivers are going to have to make that big choice of, do I want to put 4 cold ones on or should I keep my 4 warm ones on that have a little bit of heat in them?
Also brought up the fact, too, before we came on the air, that these drivers, they've only got 11 gallons of fuel in the tank as opposed to normal leagues where they run the 22-gallon fuel cell. So we're going to be seeing them have to get off the banking onto a rather treacherous pit road as well, possibly for green flag pit stops.
Yeah, and you've noted that one too. Pit stops have really been emphasized in this league as strategy. I mean, you have to plan your pit stops, you have to plan your strategy, and here's the thing, if you burn up your tires, you're going to be in for a long day.
No doubt about it. As you take a look here at the starting lineup for this race, Shane Theron just barely was able to edge out Matthew Bell, three-time winner this season, by about 33 100ths of a second. So obviously you see that the times are really close in terms of qualifying, which means, in my opinion, everyone's going to be up each other's gearbox. It's going to be close pack racing. But with the fact that Texas is really a one-groove racetrack, these restarts, as you pointed out, are going to be very important because everybody in these double file starts are going to be fighting for the bottom line.
Yeah, you're definitely right about it. I mean, Texas is one of those tracks where it's really just one groove going around and everyone's going to be fighting for that low line. Now, hopefully later on, this track will rubber up. Currently, it is a clean racetrack, so no rubber has been put down here at the moment. But hopefully when grip gets built up, maybe it's going to build up around that high line, just make a little bit of better run off the corner.
Far this season, in the 7 races that have been run, there have been 5 different drivers that have gone to victory lane. I believe that's correct. Yep, 5 different drivers have taken checkered flags here, and we're getting ready to see if another one will take one this evening as the green flag is out.
It looked like Matthew Bell did not get a good jump on that. Looks like he's won a tire.
Spinner down near the exit of pit road. That was Casey Morgan in the 88, but we're still green. Nobody was near him. He got it righted, kept it going.
Go here. Looks like everyone's just trying to fight for a line, trying to fight for position.
The top 2 at least will get single file. Ooh, there might have been some near contact for 3rd place.
That definitely looks like a little bit of an overreaction. It looks like he was afraid of coming down in the car below him. And may have just overcorrected. We saw that a bunch yesterday with these with the new tire model.
He talked about, too, the fact that these guys, they're going out there in these first few laps with no rubber laid down. They spent all of practice having some tire grip to be able to rely on in the corners, so they literally were skating through turns 1 and 2, not only on the first lap, but probably here on the second lap as well. Pretty impressive that they were able to make it through without us having a caution.
Look at Matthew Bell hunting down Shane in the 38. Looks like he's starting to take that low line. Looks like he isn't able to complete the pass. Shane shut the door.
It's really where a lot of the passing is going to have to take place, is on the straightaways.
Oh,
we got the 2 trucks 45. Down the wall.
Look at Austin.
They're going to have to throw the caution.
Yeah, it looks like that was the 24 of Jacob A. Hope, and also the 45 of Cody Schladecker. So let's go ahead and take a look back at that incident to see what caused.
Schladecker actually was up towards the top of the board in terms of practice speeds. He qualified well, but this happened pretty close up inside the top 10, I believe. We'll see what happened here.
Look back, you see that 45 on the high line, 24 on the bottom. Looks like the 24 touched that apron just a little bit, came up the racetrack, hit the 45, and after that it was just kind of chain reaction. They were trying to keep off of each other. Look at the 15 of Austin Gatorex just taking that low line. That's a bold move there. I don't know if I
don't think well, if I had done it, I probably would have lifted. Didn't look like he lifted. He kept his foot in the throttle just in case maybe the 45 was going to drift back down. But, as you look at it, it looks like, especially coming off turn 2 from the camera angle we're going to be showing here, looks like the 24 thought he was clear on the 46. And just, a little miscommunication there. Maybe the spotter told him that he was clear, and obviously he was not. 2 of them hook bumpers and both go down to the inside wall. Take a look at this never lift moment.
Back to the 15. Keeps in it, goes down low, avoids it, goes even lower.
He slowed down a bit, but he went through there a lot faster than I probably would have.
Definitely a bold move.
Him some positions as a result of that, though. I think he gained maybe 2-3 spots with drivers checking up, avoiding hitting the 46 car, or the 46 truck.
11th. I don't know if anyone's came down for pit stops yet. We'll most likely get that here in just a moment.
Now it's going to be interesting because, obviously Shane Theron starting on the pole had to be on the inside line. With these double file restarts now, I would assume whoever's going to be the race leader in this event when it's a restart is going to take that inside line. But there may be some drivers that want to take that arc into turns 1 and 2 from the outside line. We'll have to wait and see if anyone has a strategy in terms of choosing a line other than the inside line.
Just really the key to this race is staying smooth. If you're putting in too much steering wheel input, you're of course going to burn up those tires with a hurry. And while putting a little bit of warmth in them is okay, burning them up within 5 laps, that's definitely not what you...
Before we had that caution come out with that incident on the back straightaway, I was going to point out that really the passing I think that will go on in this race is going to be on the D-shaped front straightaway and the back straightaway, because in the corner everyone's going to be going for the inside line. And you saw earlier on that last run, Matthew Bell tried to make a move on Shane Theron, but he just couldn't get to the inside because they had to basically take the same line through the corner. So it really is about trying to get back to the throttle sooner than the driver you're trying to catch and get that momentum on the straightaway to be able to, if not clear them, at least be side by side when you go into either turn 1 or turn 3.
Now it looks like both the 45 and the 24 have retired as a result of this incident. And actually, it's kind of unfortunate. It looks like both of them could have kept going. It just would have been a hamper on speed, and I think they just called it a day off of that. Also, the 98 of Calvin Gatorex, he also did not start the race. It looks like he's been having some VR issues and having some issues getting that connected. So he's currently sitting on pit road. He may try to get out here in a few laps and just turn some laps, get some points.
We had 22 cars take the green flag. Right now, 20 of them are on the lead lap, and the 20 running. We would have 21 if Calvin Gatorex is able to get out there onto the track. So it looks like nobody, at least up at the front, came to pit road. There were a couple of drivers doing some fake pitting there, but they pulled back out onto the track. And I think that maybe a big reason for this is we only ran about 2-3 laps there. Tires will be warmed up now. There's a little bit more grip in them. So I think that they're wanting to stay out there with warmer tires rather than come to pit road, get fresh tires, and go out there with slicks again.
I'd definitely say, at least right now, since we've ran so little laps on these tires, keep your current tires, keep the heat in them, and just run it out like your normal pit cycle. Now, I do notice some guys here back in the pack have actually stopped and just topped off, which could be an advantage later on, just looking at how small these gas tanks are.
Take a look here at the front row. This has kind of been the story of the season, at least also the past 2 weeks. You got Shane Theron and Matthew Bell being your front row. Well, they are first and second in the point stands. They're also the last 2 winners on the season so far. Bell winning last week at Richmond, and the week before Shane Theron at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So kind of a battle of the bulls up here at the front. And I think that we're going to maybe see just how aggressive Bell will be on this restart, on whether he wants to wrestle the lead away from Theron or if he's content to ride in second place again as we're getting ready to go back green.
Green flag is out. Looks like Shane Theron gets an amazing restart. Matthew Bell has not had 2 good starts here. As the field slowly fans out behind him, Bronson Stafford taking a low line. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to push the issue there. Grant Davis on the high side falling back.
One thing about Texas is you have that dark gray area down the inside line. If you overstep that cushion and try a little bit higher group, there's not really enough grip up there to be able to move forward. You can see right there, Davis is stuck on the top side. He loses a spot to Stafford, loses a spot to Austin Johnson. He's just dropping back, trying to find a place to slot in, tries to slot in front of Gavin Cohn, but Cohn's going to now drive to the inside of him. That's a battle for sixth.
And you've got to think of some of these drivers. They practice with 55% track usage on both practice and qualifying. Some of these drivers that were really good with high rubber on the track, they're going to a completely clean surface. So this is something new to them that they have to adapt to.
Also got to think, too, that kind of plays into affecting their strategy in terms of, in practice, they were probably going out there practicing long green flag runs. Well, you're going out there with 55% track usage. You're not going to have your tires wear nearly as bad as you would going out on a green racetrack. So they're having to completely adjust their strategies now if drivers were setting up for the long run.
Yes, definitely. And it looks like Matthew Bell's still trying to track down Shane Theron. And as you saw last week with Virtual Racing Network's broadcast, Shane Theron and Matthew Bell did get into it a little bit. They both sat down with the admins and had a little talk. And they're both back focused on racing. Shane Theron, it's shocking to see the evil controller sponsor on the car. He actually runs iRacing with a controller, which is unheard of in this series.
Right there, it looks like Matthew Bell's actually trying to take a half-groove higher entrance into the corner, undoubtedly trying to get some clean air to the nose of that race car, trying to be able to get a run. And at the same time, he's got to look in his rearview mirror because Trenton Jump in the 46 looks like he's within closing distance to maybe make a battle for second place.
Yeah, it looks like there's currently a battle for fourth as Bronson Stafford and Austin Johnson they look to be battling here for the position. It looks like Austin Johnson has preferred line. Bronson's going to give it to him on the low side. Just the whole case of you've got to take some time getting your tires heated up, and also you don't want to burn off your tires here the first few laps making a run.
Exactly. I mean, I think that was a smart move by Bronson Stafford, giving up the spot, not battling, because when you're battling, you're going to probably run a lot more aggressively than you'd want to, and you run more aggressively, you're going to burn up those tires. And we've gotten ourselves pretty spread out here pretty well all the way through the field, so now we're settling into long green flag run. Now we can start looking towards possibly seeing these guys, how they're going to approach coming to pit road and when they'll do that, due to the fact they've really only got half of a normal fuel tank.
It's definitely, it's worth noting that the first guy who's pitted that last caution was Ryan Hartz. He's the current highest of the ones who pitted. Currently, he's in the 9th position, making a pass on Shane Abbey there. I mean, it does not look like he got too much of an advantage of just pitting, but obviously if this race runs green, those few extra laps will help him push it. Now, we do have a stage caution here at lap 74, but that's definitely far off in the distance, so fuel window will be coming up here in probably about 10, 15 laps.
I would certainly think so. And you know, obviously, as you mentioned, we don't carry the season for Adrenaline. However, we should kind of put a little bit of a spotlight on what's going on in terms of their playoff standings. Looks like 10 drivers make it into the playoffs, 8 drivers via points, 2 drivers via wild card. And Ryan Hartz, that we're looking at right here, he's actually one of the drivers in a wild card position. Currently 11th overall in the points, but he does
Caution's
have
out.
the victory.
Looks
Oh,
like
yep, we do have a
car.
caution.
Chaz Bedford was involved. The 78 of Adrian Pedra was also involved. Looks like he's got some engine damage.
Yeah, he does.
That may be a little bit of an unfortunate incident. Let's go ahead and go back and take a look. Yeah, but
Quickly just point out, too, that Ryan Hartz was a former winner this season at ISM.
And it's worth noting that Calvin Gatorex, he's also he's retired. Currently, he's having just some general PC problems, so he's unable to continue. Let's go ahead and take a look back at the 78. It looks like he may have cost us. So as we take a look at the 78 car here, you kind of see him weaving back and forth. Almost looks like he has some steering issues or just trying to catch it. He catches it, overcorrects, slams it into the wall, and it looks like thinking he's trying to spin it to avoid him, and he just kind of crashed in. Go ahead and take a look back.
It was already up in that middle groove, and you slam on the brakes here, and the car, or the truck in this case, is just going to snap around.
I mean, just barely any grip. I mean, that's just the hardest part here. Let's go ahead and take a look from the 2's onboard and just see him try to avoid. See them going here, see him going down the backstretch. And see off in the distance, you see the 78 start to spin, overcorrects it. Chaz Bedford just gets on the brakes, and he actually may have got some help from behind. That car just looks like it just spun around quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're turning the truck to the left with the little grip that we have, especially early on here, with not a whole lot of rubber laid down, that right rear is going to get up in that light gray and just snap. Oh, you're right, though. He did get a little bit of help.
It looks like he got a little bit of contact.
Yeah, Austin Gatorex there in the 15.
Let's go ahead and take a look back. You see the 2 car he starts slowing. It almost looks like Austin just didn't realize he was checking and just knocked him in the back a little bit, knocked him up the racetrack, and just unfortunate.
Oh, that surprised me. I actually, that was a good call on your part. It looked like the car may have just snapped around with getting on the brakes, but you're right.
Yeah, I've never seen a car turn like that.
Looks like that's actually going to. Looks like that's going to take the 2 car out of the race as well as the 78. So at this point in time, looks like it's only going to leave us about 18 trucks left running on the lead lap.
And looking at that, almost everyone's come down pit road just to either top off or get some new tires. But both Shane Therian and Bronson Stafford has stayed out, and they're currently on their current tires, 18 laps in the run. Also, haven't filled up at all, so it's a bit of an interesting strategy here. I think they're trying to bet on a quick caution, or maybe just trying to short pit and strategize.
Yeah, I mean, they may be possibly strategizing towards that stage break you were talking about on lap 74. Maybe if they feel that they go green till the end of the stage, they would have to only come to pit road maybe twice, while everybody else would have to come 3 times, perhaps. I don't know. I would kind of question this, though, in terms of how much speed they're going to be able to produce, because we saw Ryan Hartz, he was the first one that had come off of pit road under the last caution, and he had worked his way up into the top 10 with the fresher tires. He's going to restart in 7th, so I would wonder about some of these guys up here on older tires if they would be able to hold the 11 car off.
I mean, definitely when you first start out on old tires, I mean, you have more heat than these newer cars. I mean, look at them back in the pack, just weaving, trying to get any heat into them. Obviously, when you first start out, these old tires will have a bit of an advantage just having the heat in them. About 3, 4, 5 laps in, I mean, those new tires will get up the heat and they will start chasing you down.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen here already, you know, that you can kind of throw a blanket over a top 5, 6 when they get into a run. So it's not like someone's able to pull away and drive away from the rest of the field. Everyone's still kind of in close proximity to each other. So, you know, whether Shane Therian or Bronson Stafford get a good jump here on this start, they're not going to be that far ahead of the 11.
Absolutely. And it's also just, we're going to go ahead and give a shout out to Charles at Virtual Racing Network. He was actually scheduled to broadcast this race, and he unfortunately came down with a few medical issues and is in the hospital. So we do wish him the very best. We hope to see him back next week at I think next week is. Actually, I don't remember what next week is.
Well, actually, next week there's actually a couple of weeks off, but the next venue is going to be the Monster Mile, Dover.
And I believe that's after, I think it's in January here. So we do wish him the best. We hope to see him back here at Dover with all of his medical issues sorted out.
Absolutely.
So just go ahead and wish him the best. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Lights on the pace car are out. It looks like Shane Therian and Bronson Stafford both are going to stay out. So both move here, 20 laps on those tires. Obviously, we're going to try to use this restart and get as much ground as possible. Grant Davis is the first one that went on pit road, so it's unsure if he got new tires or fuel. I think it's just fuel only with being so high up, but I'm going to see them get back on the way here. Shane has decided to pick the high line here to restart.
How much of an advantage that gives him. Boy, he was on the gun, ready to go there for the restart, so he'll open up about 3 car lengths at least going into turn 1. Yeah, Stafford, at least for now, is going to hang on to second.
Yeah, Bronson Stafford was caught sleeping, so Shane's going to try to get as much of the gap as possible. And you see Grant Davis just trying to work on Bronson now.
Oh!
Get around him. Wow! Looks like that may have
nice save there by Trenton Jump in the 46.
Yeah, it looks like he got just a little bit loose there.
another one that was caught napping on that restart. Started on the outside of row 2, and I thought when Theron went that he was going to go, but he was stuck back in a battle for third with Grant Davis going into turn 1.
I've seen Trenton Jump starting to fall back now. I'm not sure if it's just because he has new tires or if he just burned up the tires a little bit, but he's starting to fall back in the field. I think he's lost about 2 good positions ever since that.
It's like Theron's got himself a little bit of a gap. Maybe 3/10 before you get back to Stafford, and then you got maybe another 3 car lengths back to Grant Davis. I think everybody else kind of had to check up when the 46 had his issue off of turn 2, so these 3 have been able to get away by a little bit.
Matthew Bell's at least a few good 5-6 car lengths back. It is noting that Bronson Stafford looks like he's put his car back under him ever since that restart. He's been slowly just trying to chase Theron down. Theron's actually done a great job with this restart, but Grant Davis is the one I've got my eye on right now, because I don't know if he took new tires, but he definitely looks fast here. You see someone going in a pit.
That might have been the 98, perhaps?
Yeah, that was the 98 car. It looks like he was, looks like he may have tried to get some of his technical issues fixed and just weren't ready yet. So he's trying to make some few laps. He's currently 21 laps down. He can easily gain up to about the 19th position here with everyone.
He just picked up a couple of spots there, making at least 1 lap. He moved up to the, I believe, 21st position.
Yeah, he's currently getting back on the racetrack now, so looks like he's just trying to get all sorted out and ready to go.
And coming into this race, he is 30th in the point stand, so every position is a point, and every point matters. Obviously, a long ways still to go in the season, but a lot of times...
I saw Austin Johnson get really loose coming off that second corner there. He went way down to the inside just to try and catch it, so obviously some of these guys are still trying to push it.
And I'll tell you, one guy that kind of came into this race with a little bit of pressure is the guy you're talking about, Austin Johnson, because in terms of the top 8 in the point stands, he was 8th, 1 point ahead of Kaz Bedford, who is out of the race. So with the retiring of the 2 truck, that takes a little bit of pressure off Austin Johnson heading into the upcoming week.
See Eric Stamp there just trying, Trenton Jump, trying to make his positions back here. He's going to try to make a move on the inside of Austin Johnson.
And obviously, a lot of times at the D-shaped 1.5 tracks, drivers will try and drive it in deep going into a corner to make a move, and especially with everyone fighting for the bottom, you really can't do that, or else you're going to probably spin the truck out in front of you. Just have to bide your time, wait for the right moment. Looks like the 46 is better from the center of the corner off, gets a good run there out of turn 4, and I think he may take the spot before they get to turn 1.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Chaz Bedford is just a little, oh my apologies, not Chaz Bedford, Austin Johnson is just a little bit loose out of these corners. He can't get the good run at 46. It looks like the 11 car is getting around. Ryan Hartz is adding his name into the battle.
Yes, he just almost had his nose chopped off as Johnson made a crossover on jump, and now he's going to move back to 5th and bring Hartz with him, move the 11 up to 6th.
Worked that car, it gets loose on him and just starts to walk it up the hill.
Look up towards the front. We've had a change for 3rd place. The 20th Matthew Bell has gotten around Grant Davis and now is trying to hunt down the top 2. He's right near the back bumper of the 61 to Bronson Stafford, so that could be our next battle up towards the front.
I think Matthew Bell is the first one with new tires. As it looks like Grant Davis is now in danger from Austin Johnson. Looks like Davis maybe hit the wall or something happened, but definitely he looks a lot slower now. It's getting passed by both Austin Johnson and Ryan Hart.
I think Grant Davis, when he came to pit road under the last caution, I think it was 2 tires. So obviously we're seeing how 4 tires stack up against 2, and I think we're seeing now with Matthew Bell charging his way up to 2nd how 4 tires stack up against none. Remember, both Theron and Stafford are yet to come to pit road.
Yeah, definitely. You see Grant Davis has fallen back to 8th, and now he's going to get even closer to the clutches of 9th with Shane Abbey. But you see Matthew Bell, he's on a mission past Bronson Stafford, and Shane Theron is now in his sights. That's his next goal.
And if you look in the terms of lap times too, I mean, right now Shane Theron's running about 30.2s. Matthew Bell, on the other hand, is running around 30 flats. So you could definitely see there is a speed difference between no tires and 4 tires. And you just see the closing rate here going into 1.
Yeah, currently he's about 0.3 of a second closer to him. It just looks like Bell's able to carry about 171 into the corner, and Shane he's about 170 or 167, 168. So obviously a 3-4 mile an hour difference there. That's the big killer. That's what's allowed Matthew Bell just to gain so much time.
Again, let's not forget, too, I think even with the fact that the 20 had those fresh tires when he pitted, I don't think he can make it to the stage caution. So I think that both Bell and Theron are going to have to be on pit road before the stage ends anyway. So when Theron comes to pit road, it's going to be the roles reversed. Theron's going to have the fresher tires. He'll be putting down the faster lap times. And then it will be Matthew Bell that will be slower and possibly get reeled in, as Hartz had quite a save out of turn 2 there for a moment.
You can definitely see everyone's getting just a little bit loose coming off these corners. 2 in particular has been very loose. See Shane Theron, he's going to go down to pit road now and looks like maybe top off and get some new tires, because it just, those about 30, 34 lap tires just cannot compete with just these brand new.
This is interesting. You know, obviously we don't know for certain just how far these drivers can go, but let's speculate that this is the furthest that Theron was able to go on the fuel he had in the tank. This is not halfway to the first stage caution. They would have to go somewhere around to lap 37, 38 to be able to be at halfway point. Now, obviously, we had 2 cautions that he was able to maybe save some fuel under, but I would kind of question if maybe 38, 61, they may have to come to pit road one more time before the stage ends.
Ryan Hart's just able to get in that corner so much better. As these new tires can't compare. You see Trenton Jump about to get really active here.
Sure, I would try 3 wide here at Texas, to be honest.
It's obvious that Bronson's just trying to fight for his second place. He's been chopping. Looks like, oh wow, he's coming to pit road. No, slides it, definitely going to be speeding.
I think that's a violation.
Yeah, it's going to be an entry violation, so he's going to have to come by and probably do another stop and go. Let's go ahead and take a look back at that. It almost looks like Ryan Hartz just didn't even realize that he was coming.
No, I don't think he had a clue. You're right. He checked up big time behind the 61. He was pinned there because he had Trenton jump to the outside, but I don't think he knew the 61 was coming to pit road at all.
Yeah, just taking a look from the 11 car. I just see Bronson Stafford. He just starts slowing down barely, and just taps him a little bit. He got Bronson in there just a little bit faster than he wanted, and that's what caused him to spin around. Obviously, that really hurt Ryan Hartz. He's fallen back to 5th.
A driver that capitalized on that, too, that we haven't really talked about yet this evening is Eric Stamp in the 53. A driver that came into this race currently situated 4th overall in the points. So
Ryan
all
Hart's
of a sudden, he's up here.
And Ryan Hart's just at the wall out of that. So it looks like he's having some trouble here at the moment. But Eric Stamp, of course, man, he's been hauling ever since the start of this race. I think he started back in the 6th position. Got tires, and I think he's making his march back up through the. So I'm willing to bet that about 30-ish, 34 laps is probably our pit window here.
Stafford came to pit road, I believe it was on lap 36, I think it was. So yeah, it looks like that's around the range where they're able to go, which puts them like right on the cusp of whether they can split the stage in half or not. It'll be interesting to see if both Theron and Stafford, if they're able to make it the end of the stage caution. Somehow I don't think they'll be able to, but maybe they'll be able to save and surprise me.
I mean, just look at what time it pitted. I think Shane pitted on lap 33 and Bronson lap 34. I mean, times it by 2, and that just does not equal what it would be. But I mean, our stage ends at 74. That would get you to at least about lap 67, 68. My math isn't too inaccurate. But it is worth noting that Grant Davis, he looks like he's about stabilized around 8th place. See Gavin Combs slowly trying to work third and pass him here. But it looks like both Shane Abbey's going through the field. They're trying to make a lot of passes. Everyone's just trying to bide for position. But, I mean, obviously you've got to think of that stage break on your mind. And as you look at this track, everything's starting to, the sun's starting to go down. So this track will start cooling down a little bit. And more rubber has been placed on the track here.
You think about it too as well, you know, the battles that are going on right now, a lot of drivers, they could be battling for the inside line when we end up getting to the end of that stage, because we've obviously seen that everyone's been fighting for the bottom of the racetrack. So if you start on the inside line to begin stage 2, you got a good chance of picking up maybe 1-2 positions going into turn 1, as we see the 15 with an issue there.
It looks like Austin Gatorix. Looks like he may have had some problems while getting past. May have slipped up. See Gavin. Wow, he pushes Gavin Cohn way up the field. That's definitely.
I don't think he knew which direction, which line this 69 wanted.
It looks like Austin Gatorix maybe coming to pit road here. Looks like he has a little bit of right side damage, so I would not rule out that he's probably been on the wall here.
A lot of times too, especially at a track that is so tough on that right front tire, you get up and into the wall, it overcooks that right front, and then the truck or the car just wants to go straight, and you have no choice but to come to pit road and get those tires changed.
Yeah, currently Matthew Bell has about a 2.5 second lead on Trent Jump, and then about a second and a half, or I would say about a good second back is Austin Johnson. He managed to recover back for a third place finish. Or third place running order. And you've got the 11 of Ryan Hartz. Even after hitting the wall a few times, he's managed to work his way back up.
As of right now, I think you've got about a 1.5 seconds separation between, or no, I'm sorry, it's more than that. It's about almost 4 seconds between the top 4. So you can see how the thing's definitely gotten spread out.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's kind of a cat and mouse game from the top 10 of who's going to come to pit road first, who's going to get those fresh tires.
Yeah, it looks like almost everyone's currently in a holding pattern, just trying to see if they can save a little bit of fuel and just maybe just stretch it. Right now, I'd say for everyone who pitted under that last pit stop, of course, it's going to be one more pit stop. I don't think we can make it. But for drivers like Shane Therian and Bronson Stafford, definitely that would probably be in a more realistic category. Bronson Stafford, he's currently 2 laps down as of that black flag. His next current competitor is Dylan Browning in a 16 car, and he's 1 lap down. Shane Therian is currently in the position for a lucky dog if the caution does come out.
But to the point as well about Shane Therian, you see him passing very easily the 53 Eric Stamp. Looking at his lap times, even though he is the first car 1 lap down, he's running anywhere from 0.5 seconds to about 0.7 faster than the leader Matthew Bell's. So he is obviously picking up ground on the 20. We know that Bell will not be able to make it to stage end before having to come to pit road at least 1 more time. So if Therian is able to stretch it far enough to make it to the end of the stage, right now it looks like things would work out in his favor. But as we pointed out, even with 2 cautions, he came down pit road on lap 33, lap 34, which our projections would have that not having to make it.
Eric Stamp, Grant Davis, Logan Breakever all coming down to go get their pit stops here.
I believe. Do you remember for that second restart? I think it was like lap 16?
I'd say around lap 21, 22 on it.
Right, so if the projections are correct, then we're probably going to see, I would think, within the next, 5 to 7 laps, we would probably see the 20 truck on pit road. Yeah, he's coming now.
All of these drivers last pitted, or if they pitted at lap 17, all these drivers have went from lap 17 to lap 48. So that's about roughly 20-ish, 25-ish, 30-ish laps. So that is not... But obviously,
with the fact we've got, I was going to say, with Matthew Bell coming to pit road now, that says to me that Shane Therian will not be able to make it to the end of the stage without having to come to pit road at least 1 more time.
Currently, Herman Hart is our leader here. Actually, looks like he has not made his pit stop yet. He's currently in 30 lap sneak, so we should be seeing him here shortly. And we have Robert Kenny in a 34 Lamar Jackson car. Doesn't look like he's made his pit stop yet.
Made a reference to Lamar Jackson when Matt was showing me this car. I had not yet seen the hood, and then all of a sudden I had Lamar Jackson staring into my soul.
Yeah, I mean, definitely trying to see the ways. You see Robert Kenny coming down the pit road now. And it's worth noting that pit road speed looks to be about 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour. So I mean, a speeding penalty here is not what you wanted. You see, it's Shane Therian. He's managed to get his lap back, and he's currently in the lead. I'm not sure if he can make it to till the stage of caution. He currently has 16 laps in the stint. He might get close and may try to shortcut it or just do a splash of fuel to get him to the end. But right now, he's in a...
I don't see how, though. I really don't. I mean, especially with the fact that we saw Matthew Bell come in a little bit earlier than he was projected. I mean, Therian came in on lap 34 after staying out under 2 caution periods where he would have had opportunity to save. So I just don't see how this 38 can be able to stay out and not have to pit before the end of the stage.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he's going to make it to the end of the stage, but obviously points are everything in this series, and there's no win in your any really category. I mean, it's whatever points you get. I mean, first, second, third, and fourth, fifth, or most important, any of the points, it's not really going to get you very much of a lead. And with how tight the points battle is and how tight the competition is, Shane Therian and Matthew Bell are definitely just trying to get as much points as possible.
Up a great point there as well with the way that the format is for their playoff system. I mean, obviously, you know, a win is important if you're not up there inside the top 8 because that would put you up potentially into a wild card position. But if you're looking at someone like Therian, like Bell, you know, they've got to win this season, but they also got to remain consistent to stay up there in the point standings.
Definitely, as you see, Grant Davis looks like he's going to be battling both Bronson Stafford and Eric Stamp here for the looks like the 8th position, as Bronson Stafford is still 1 lap down. But you see both. Looks like Shane Abbey is very slow on the high side. Looks like he may be trying to get his tires up to temp, or he may have hit the wall here.
Another driver that's kind of been up there in the top 10 that we haven't really spotlighted is Casey Metzger, the 88, currently in that 6th position. Very solid outing so far, been very quiet, but
well, it's definitely worth
since
noting
working his way up.
On the lead lap, when we first started this race, he was the one who spun down to the apron of the edge of pit road. So definitely a
very
nice
good point. Yeah. Now in that 6th position, currently running about 12 seconds behind the race leader. And I'm looking at the interval between the race leader, Therian, and Bell. Obviously, Bell's got fresher tires. He came to pit road a little bit later than Therian did. Looks like he's running a little bit faster, about 0.4 faster, but he's got to make up 7 seconds on Therian.
Yeah, and I think it's almost an insurmountable, gap to overcome, even though it definitely seems like Matthew Bell does have a little bit more speed in the corners than Shane Therian. I mean, still 6 seconds is a bit of a gap to overcome, even though he's on 1 lap old tires. Ryan Hartz, I don't think he's going to close the gap anytime soon. It looks like he's getting about 8 seconds back here. See, Robert Kenny came off pit road. He's currently 1 lap down.
I think that staying out that extra lap that both he and Herman Hart did, I think that kind of affected them in terms of speed, especially with a lot of drivers on their out lap.
Johnson was trying to catch that car out of 2.
He's been very aggressive here, and he's almost paid the price a couple of times. Almost had that truck step out on him.
I mean, you've got to respect those guys who just push it almost to the edge and a little bit over it and still can catch it. I mean, those are the guys who can really drive. I mean, you can drive a race car fast, but if you can drive it on that edge, and hey, you're at least talented enough to push it and push it. You see Bronson Stafford coming off a pit road. Looks like he's taking a pit stop. He's currently 4 laps down. I know he's battling the flu this week, so this definitely isn't making his day any better.
Obviously, we mentioned the fact that with the 2 of Kaz Bedford out of the race, that kind of alleviated a little pressure between Austin Johnson and the drivers behind him, with him being 8th in the points days. Next driver he would have to worry about would be Logan Brakey, 10th in points, but he is a total of 21 points back. So it doesn't look like Brakey's going to be able to jump up into the top 8 here today, at least right now, points-wise, but Brakey is running in the 11th position, not too far from breaking into the top 10. So, this is still early on. If Johnson runs into some problems, Brakey could be able to capitalize and at least close the gap going into Dover.
Oh, yeah, I was really confused. I thought you were talking about Jimmy Johnson for a minute. So you see Matthew Bell, he's being chased down by Ryan Hartz here. He's got a 0.7 of a second back. Austin Johnson, man, he's still wheeling that thing off the corner. He's trying to run down Ryan Hartz.
As of right now, it's looking like the lap times are very similar between Bell, Hartz, and Johnson. They all ran in the 30.1s, the low 30.1s that last time around, so they're pretty much on equal ground. The only issue is for second and third place, they are over a second and a half back.
Shane Therian on the high side there. It's worth noting that Ryan Hartz just hasn't been able to break into that 29-second barrier. He's been his best lap here is 30.01. I mean, people like Matthew Bell and both Austin Johnson, they've gotten down to 29.9s. I think I've seen 129.8.
Here's going to be the big question of whether or not Matthew Bell, Ryan Hartz, Austin Johnson, if those guys can make it to the completion of lap 74 before having to come to pit road again. I mean, I think that more than likely Bell came to pit road sooner than we expected because of all the time he was giving up to Theron, who was on new tires at the time. But I mean, based off the projection, I think they should be somewhere between 2 to 3 laps to the good to make it to the end of the stage.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Shane Therian is going for that lucky dog position. He is falling a bit back. However, his gap to Robert Kenny. Actually, no, Kenny's going to get ready to fight him.
This is the lucky dog battle right here.
See Robert Kenny here. Looks like he wants that lucky dog. I mean, even though it's about 12 laps off, I mean, if you can at least just do a little bit of a bump and run it, away, you can try your best just to get back in the lead lap. Shane Therian, wow, he looks loose there.
It does not look like he can hold the bottom, especially coming off the corner. Saw him slide up there, and Kenny was able to stick the nose down to the inside. So this is the battle within the battle. Shane Therian, Robert Kenny, they're basically duking it out for these final 12 laps to see who's going to get the free pass. The other one, more than likely, would then have to rely on a later caution to get the lucky dog, because I doubt that either one of them would stay out to take a wave around and be out there on old tires.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Shane Therian just looks way looser than he did earlier in the run. That's definitely killing him. It is worth noting that his tires may not be able to temp yet, since he did hit about 5 laps ago. So I mean, he probably will start taking off when he gets his tires warmed up, but it's just a big question of who's going to have to pit here and who's going to lose a lap.
The thing I love about these type of races too, the field gets spread out, we get into long green flag runs, and then we start to see who really are the king of the long runs. And the name that's popped up into the top 10 is Spencer Hinton there in the 42. I mean, I think he was back around 15th, 16th when the cycle of pit stops began, and now all of a sudden he's up inside of the top 10, and he's been laying down some really good lap times.
I mean, look at that. He started in 20th place and managed to work his way back up to 7th. Now, it is worth noting, it looks like the 88 of Casey, looks like he has retired from the race. That's quite unfortunate for him. I'm not sure what transpired there, but it looks like he came in for a pit stop, and I don't know if he pulled back out or just called it a day.
You're definitely right. Yeah, he's taken his car back behind the wall, and he was running up inside of the top 10 and battled back, as you'd mentioned, from that near spin out on lap 1 before even getting into turn 1. Another driver that's actually kind of making the best of a situation we've talked about before, Calvin Gatorex. He is currently in the 21st position, still out there every now and then logging some laps, trying to pick up some positions. His brother also has kind of faded back there as well to 18th. I think they're just trying to pick up spots, and they may be able to pick up a spot with the 88 retiring.
I think Calvin's still having some issues with his VR headset since he's been on pit road for about 20 minutes now. So I'm willing to say that he's still having some problems there. Austin, obviously, is trying to log laps. I mean, here's the thing. Adrenaline's more or less a series for people who go and get experience. I mean, obviously, you do have people like Matthew Bell, Ryan Hartz, Grant Davis, Bronson Stafford, Shane Therian, who have higher I rating up to, above 3, 4, 5K. But I mean, you do have some newbies who are starting out here who just need more experience. And I mean, obviously, I've said this almost every race. I mean, you need to start somewhere. And trust me, it sucks to be on that side of, hey, you get hit or you get knocked around by someone who's new. But I mean, everyone's been in that side of, hey, I've knocked enough people around, and I've received enough from people who have started out. So I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere, and Adrenaline's a great place to start.
tell you what, not only on the timing charts, but also visibly, you can see the gap from first to second is closing up. Ryan Hartz is starting to close in. And if we look back at the previous 7 races, 3 of the midway point races have been won by Ryan Hartz. So he certainly knows how to have the long run car when it matters come at the end of a stage. And we could have ourselves a battle for this green and white checkered flag.
You gotta think, all these stages, I mean, you get playoff points and you also get just regular points for them. So obviously you gotta stock up when you can. I mean, these playoff rounds are not.
To be 4 laps to go here in this stage when Matthew Bell hits the line. And looking in terms of lap times, there's about maybe 1 to 2 tenths difference. I think Bell was a little bit faster that last lap around. We'll see what the gap is going to be between the two now. A tenth quicker was Hartz, as the gap is now 8 tenths of a second.
Noting that Austin Johnson definitely fell off a little bit. He was right on Hartz. I don't know if he hit the wall a little bit, or I think the looseness caught up to him. I mean, no damage visibly on his car, but he's getting chased down by both Trenton Jump and Eric Stamp there.
You could see back there as well the 34 of Robert Kenny. He is the first car 1 lap down, so he would be the recipient of the lucky dog when the stage comes to a close. Shane Theron, the second highest running lap car, so things not looking so good for a guy that started up on the pole.
No, it's
and I'm almost wondering too, what the gap might be between Herman Hart and the race leader.
Yeah, Herman Hart, as anyone watched last night in our NNSCRA Hollow Drive, he was going to be the race winner there until the last few laps, where just unfortunate series happened as he's having some internet connection issues. But I mean, obviously a good run here today. 10th place is a good points day. It is worth noting that Motorsports is having a very down day today. All of their drivers are outside of the top 10 here.
Just noticed too, Austin Johnson, I think, was just on the pit lane in the 39 from the 3rd position.
Definitely, he's coming off a pit road now, so definitely strategy here. The race halfway point is here in 1 lap. We should be getting the caution here any moment. But wow, God, he's loose.
Yeah, he came to pit road and went a lap down too. So I think he maybe can take the wave around and get back on the lead lap here when this caution does indeed come out. But at the same time, he's going to have to start near the rear of the field now.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that halfway caution or pitting before halfway was prohibited, but I guess not. As you see, Matthew Bell taking the halfway stage here, should be getting the caution here any moment. There it is. Matthew Bell is your stage winner. So it's Matthew Bell, Ryan Hartz, Trenton Jump, Grant Davis, and Eric Stamp. You see Administrative Motorsports is having a really good day today with both Trenton Jump and Eric Stamp in the top 5.
Up to this point, Matthew Bell has only won 1 midway point stage this season, and he went on to win that race at Watkins Glen International. So we'll see if lightning strikes twice for him, as he's looking for his 4th win on the season. And you see right there, Robert Kenny going to get the lucky dog in the 11th position. Only 10 trucks were still on the lead lap at the end of stage 1.
Yeah, definitely. That's very big for him, and that's a big hit for Shane Therian too. I mean, he was probably really counting on that lucky dog just to keep him in the race here. So that just goes to show how early race, decisions can come back to bite you. I mean, Shane Therian was probably hoping on a caution just to come save him there, and unfortunately, we've been running green ever since that last caution. So strategy. That's how it plays out.
A look at the last 2 cautions we've had so far. The first one, kind of some miscommunication that went on. The second one was a driver getting loose and then somebody else getting pushed into the wreck. So for the most part, I think we could relatively say they've been tame cautions early on. Now we're going into the second stage. The aggressiveness is going to step up. So now we're really going to see what these drivers have. They've had the opportunity here halfway through the race to see what they've got. Now they're going to put it to use.
I got to ask you, 2 tires, 4 tires, or no tires?
4 tires, absolutely. Every time I come to pit road here in this race, I'm taking 4 tires. You have to.
I mean, just imagine this, 15 laps to go. I'd say about 10, 15 laps to go. Caution comes out. Do you drop down for new tires and just hope for the best?
Oh, that, talk to me when we get to there, because then I might change my mind. But I'll tell you, one guy that actually did do a pretty good job of holding track position with a two-tire strategy was Grant Davis. He had managed to work his way up into the top 5, and he gained a lot of that track position because of the two-tire strategy back on the second caution. So good on him. That actually proved that if you're able to get an early enough yellow, you actually can pick up positions.
It's worth
got
noting,
a little bit of an issue here.
Both Shane Abbey and Ryan Hartz. Ryan Hartz had about a 36-second pit stop, and Shane Abbey, and he's still going. So obviously some mechanical or damage on that car. As you see, Matthew Bell
saw a lot of drivers over push that cushion, so I wonder if some drivers might have had some right side damage, maybe from going up into the wall, perhaps.
I mean, not proud to admit it, but I've chased the car up here at the track before, and it's always a good fight whether you can hold it or not. As you see, wow, Shane Therian, he's not taking the wave around. He's coming down pit road this time, so he will not get the wave around. He's expecting that for if there's another caution coming out here.
Right now, he would be only one of 2 drivers that's 1 lap down, the other one being the 51 of Jared Matthews. So that'd be the truck he'd basically be battling here if they see another caution for the lucky dog. Looks like indeed the 39 of Austin Johnson is going to be taking the wave around, so that would leave us with 12 trucks on the lead lap when we go back green.
And it's worth noting, this is a part of racing that really does not get talked about. But other than, obviously the pit guys changing tires, it also relies all on the drivers going down pit road the quickest. And as we're looking here, it looks like Trenton Jump, he managed to get down pit road to his pit box, now to pit lane in 35.8 seconds. And here's the thing, that's important because you look at the both Grant Davis, Eric Stamp, Spencer Hilton behind him. I mean, they've all, I'd say Grant Davis and Eric Stamp both had 36.3s and 36.5s. Spencer Hilton, he managed to jump up to 35.6. So, I mean, obviously every bit counts here.
Absolutely. I mean, you can, as we stated, this is a race of track position, really, with everybody basically fighting for the same groove. So your pit crew can definitely be a huge benefit to you if they gain you 1, 2, 3 positions on pit lane. That could be a difference between you being a challenger for the race lead or not. And another thing I noticed here too that you brought out that was a good point. As we get closer and closer to the end of this race, with possible green flag pit stops coming up in this second stage, a lot more pressure is going to be on the driver to make the safe entry onto pit road. It's 24 degrees of banking through 3 and 4. You're trying to bring it down onto a flat apron that has no tire grip whatsoever. It's like sliding on a sheet of ice. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on these drivers when the green flag pit stops come down, especially those money stops near the closing stages, to be careful coming onto pit road and not suffer a commitment line violation like we saw with Bronson Stafford, or going on pit road speeding and suffering a pit penalty.
And it looks like the lights of the pace car are out, so we will be going this time. Matthew Bell decides to pick the inside line. Nice recovery for Trenton Jump after getting a little bit loose on that last restart. And he's managed to survive all the pit stops, come back to second place, so that's really impressive.
It's going to be Bell, Jump, Davis, Stamp, and Hinton, your top 5. Gavin Cohn's been able to work up to 6th, Breaking 7th, Hart in 8th rather, then Hart's in 9th, and Kenny getting the lucky dog is going to be restarted in 10th as the green flag is back out. We're underway in stage 2, so let's see who's got what.
Did not get a good restart there. Grant Davis and both Matthew Bell, they have got a great restart. Don't know if he spun the tires or started in the wrong gear, but he's trying to work his way back here now.
Don't forget it, I think it was back on the second restart. I think Trenton Jump did not get a good restart either, but he recovered very well on the next couple of laps.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at both the 50 or 46 and the 53, those both are the administrative motorsports cars. They definitely have something hooked up here. They know something that everyone else doesn't, because they're just home.
This is where it's going to get interesting here with the drivers that are all on the lead lap. If we do manage to go green for a good portion up to the next round of green flag pit stops, because before we were looking at Theron versus Bell, the two of them, there was a big difference. 46 got down there on the apron, got the left side front down there, and he is going to lose a lot of momentum. Checks up his own teammate.
Oh, he puts his teammate in the wall.
And they're in the wall. Oh, and almost, I think he did get hit.
No caution yet.
By the 79, no caution.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Well, that is.
I believe the 79 of.
Oh God.
think 79 Herman Hart actually got involved in it.
Bronson Stafford hit the wall on the inside. So what in the world happened here? Let's first take a look back at that instant with the 46 just getting...
That started all the way back in turn 3. It was hard to tell. I think the 46 might have gotten his left front down on that white line just on the apron transition, and it just started snapping the truck around.
Let's go ahead and take a look here. And yeah, it looks like you're correct. The 46 did get his left sides down on that line. See him go here in the corner, puts it a little bit down, starts sliding up. He did a great job at recovering it, but I mean, obviously he just checked everyone up. Puts a 53 in a really bad situation, puts him in the wall. I mean, he starts sliding and sliding. Herman Hart did an amazing job not hitting him, just checking up.
I thought he got a piece of it. I thought Herman Hart's got involved, but you're right, he just barely missed it.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the issue with Bronson Stafford, because I think Bronson Stafford and Herman Hart got together.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, the 79 went through the grass, and I almost wonder if maybe he spun right back up the track and maybe right into the path of Stafford. We'll see here.
So we'll see here. Got the camera focused on Bronson Stafford. Now he was right behind Logan Brakey. Oh wow!
Someone else went around. Yeah,
that was way back in the pack. We'll look at that one in here in just a moment. But Bronson Stafford, man, 3 wrecks. It looks like he just... Oh, wow. Oh. It was the 53 of Eric Stamp. Looks like he got into contact. Man, there's a lot of stuff to look at this.
There is. There are a lot more drivers involved in some of these things than we originally thought.
So let's go ahead and take a look at Herman Hart and Eric Stamp before we take a look at that unrelated spin in the back.
If we can, I mean, the 53 was up against the wall. Oh, it looks like he was the one the 79 came up into.
So we'll go ahead and take a look on the onboard of the 53. I mean, it just shows you how quickly things unfold. So you see the 53 here coming off the corner. 46 checks up. He has nowhere to go. He did a great job of rolling up, but looks like the 46 almost just didn't turn for the tryover. It's the wall. There's a 79 trying to save it. Wall. He lags out, but he lags back in, and he gets pile drive in the back from Bronson Stafford. I mean, just really bad luck for him. That was just.
I mean, going back to the 46, I think the 46 was actually trying to move out of the way on the cars on the inside. Didn't realize his own teammate was actually to his outside.
I mean, I can definitely imagine how the Discord is on their channel right now of just trying to sort how that one.
Let's see if we can figure out who it was that spun out back behind Bronson. It was a black truck. Looks like it might have been the 39. I think it was the 39 of Johnson who had taken the wave around.
That is that strategy coming back to bite you. It looks like the 51.
Was it the 51 perhaps?
51 gets a little bit too high.
Oh, was it? Loose. Yeah. Jared Matthew.
39. Definitely a little bit of damage in the right front of that 39 car, but the 51 didn't hit anything. That's definitely a big hit for him. I mean, that shows you how cruel strategy can be. You can be running up front. You think you're making a power move, making a strategy, and it comes back to bite you by putting you back in traffic.
Let's not forget, too, that Jared Matthew was actually battling with Shane Theron for the lucky dog. With him spinning out and getting involved in that incident over in 4, Shane Theron is the lucky dog recipient, so the 38 truck is back in the lead lap.
And that's how cruel of a Mr. strategy can be. It could either work in your favor one moment, and the next moment it's just all against you. But it
looks like the 46 is going to be able to continue. Looks like the 53 will continue as well. Stafford back on pit road. He's now 6 laps down.
Looks like
Herman Hart also is going to continue on the lead lap.
From 7th on back, looks like everyone has pit.
Robert Kenny got the lucky dog on the last caution when the first stage came to an end. He's now up in the, I believe, either 7th or 8th position after all that.
Yeah, and as you see here, the field is dwindling down. We started with 23, and now we're down to about 17 here.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously field's trundling down. Bronson Stafford, and he has had a terrible day. Has the flu. He's been involved in multiple incidents. Got kind of caught in a really bad situation. Put himself a few laps down, and it's almost like just some weeks just are not your week, just kind of pouring.
That day just progressively getting worse, you're right. As the pace car peels off, we're getting ready to go back green. It's going to be Matthew Bell and Grant Davis, your front row.
Bell gets another good
car
restart.
is, yeah, he's on the ball there. And look at the 42 of Spencer Hinton. He's going to move up into the third spot. He may have thoughts about second.
I mean, with issues with a lot of the top runners there, I mean, that just gave us kind of a whole Newcastle. Look at Ryan Hartz, man, he is hauling on that bottom.
He is, and he's going to drive it way
hauling
down to the very bottom of the track down the back straightaway.
And definitely, Ryan Hartz is hauling. Looks like he's coming for the back bumper of Grant Davis and Matthew Bell. I imagine he's on the gas. Looks like Ryan Hartz. Oh, another caution now. Looks like the 39 Boston Johnson's around.
Boy, second incident he's been in the last two cautions. He had that piece of the action with the 51 earlier on the fourth yellow, and now gets involved in this one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look back. It looks like just a simple spin, maybe just miscalculated or overcorrect.
Johnson coming into this race, we mentioned in that critical 8th position in the points. The guy that is the closest to him now that he's basically battling, Logan Brakey, is up in the 8th position. So,
well, it's funny that you mentioned
closing in a little bit.
It's funny.
Oh wow,
Logan Brakey. Looks like Logan Brakey actually had a little bit of a hand in this.
Oh yes, he
did. Off that corner, scared Austin Johnson a little bit. Got him around. Shane Therian is really lucky there. Let's go ahead and take a look on his onboard because that's going to be a nice, frightening realization.
It looks like you're absolutely right. It was a reaction there. Austin Johnson moved up to give room to the 29, and when he did that, he overstepped that cushion we've been talking about. Got that right rear up into the light gray, found no grip, and that's what caused the truck to start going around.
Evil controllers on board here. Just looks like Brakey gets a little bit too grandiose in that corner. Gets a little bit loose.
Right there when he jerks the truck to the right. That's when he turns it back to the left, had it snap around.
I mean, that's a nice move by Austin Johnson to keep it off the wall. I mean, that's obviously not what you want, but that shows you what cold tires can do, and then also desperate strategies. And hey, just because you've made a mistake, that can affect everyone around you. So it looks like they gave the 51 of Jared Mathieu back on the lead lap. Looks like he was a lucky dog that time.
That'd be interesting too. We saw Matthew Bell. He's been most of the time starting on the inside line, but Ryan Hart's got a heck of a restart that last time. So if you're the 20, do you maybe start on the outside line? Because if you start on the inside line again, if Hart's is right with you, he's going to slot into second place and maybe be on your back bumper.
I mean, I've heard arguments for starting both on the low side and the high side. Obviously, with the low side, you've got that preferred line coming right out of it. But obviously, I've actually heard some people wanting to start on the high side to hide the restart markings for the car so they can choose when they want to take off. And obviously, some people, like we saw in the Sim Racers for Mental Health race at, I believe it was not Irwindale. It was, I can't remember what race it was. It was last week. You did definitely see... you had, I think, Riley O'Keefe admit that he pulled right alongside whoever was on the inside, and he purposely hid and purposely, stayed right out of his line of vision, so he had to look right. So he had the advantage when he jumped. So obviously, all kinds of games being played.
Interesting little strategy there. I've never actually heard that one before. If we look here too, obviously there's still a long ways to go, but this could end up coming into a fuel strategy race depending on if we manage to go green to the end and how many pit stops have to be made, etc. Drivers that maybe had utilized this caution to come down and top off the fuel tank, but there are a couple of drivers here that could play spoiler as far as the wild card race. You got Gavin Cohn currently running in the 5th position. He comes into this race currently in the 15th position in points, so he could possibly, if he won, move into the second wild card spot ahead of Lucas Cram, who currently holds that. And then you've also got Robert F. Kenny up there. He's 12th in the overall standings right now. A win for him could move him into a wild card position. So you got a couple of guys here who could play spoiler if they take a checkered flag today at Texas.
Yeah, you definitely saw how strong Robert Kenny was earlier. I mean, obviously, a lot of these drivers have their preferred style of how this car races. Some people like a looser car, some people like a tighter car. Some people are just that talented and they can drive anything. But I mean, I know Robert Kenny driving a tight race car is his specialty. That's what he focuses on. And I'm not sure how tight this setup is, but obviously when these tires getting a little bit more, and that plays a little bit more into his favor.
Herbert Kenny just doesn't want to live in the shadow of Joe Flacco anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that isn't his preferred paint scheme to run, but unfortunately he lost the bet, so Lamar Jackson is adorning his hood.
We are doubled up, so we're going to be going back green.
Now,
and it looks like it will be with about, 56 laps to go.
You know, we've got 16 cars currently running. Bronson Stafford is currently in 16th, but he is on the pit road. Austin Gatorex is in 17th, and he will be passing here shortly. And Calvin Gatorex is still on pit. Green flag in the air. Matthew Bell gets another good restart. Ryan Hartz, I don't know about that idea of giving Ryan Hartz the inside.
I don't either.
I think I would have stacked him up with Davis. But Ryan Hartz definitely.
I agree. You saw just nearing the end of the first stage, Ryan Hartz was starting to close in on Matthew Bell. Obviously, Bell went on to win the first stage, but it's looking like right now it's going to come down between these two, and this could be the battle maybe for the race win this early on. Who knows?
With Ryan Hartz in the rearview mirror, I mean, that's not the person you want to see. I mean, these two are on the same team, but obviously you don't want to see your teammate behind you because you know you're pretty limited in what you can do.
Bell got a little loose there through turn 2. I want to go inside your head real quickly as a driver, Matt. Let's say that you're running first here as Bell, you're running second as Hartz. We go into a long green flag run. If you're running second, you've got the opportunity to be able to determine when you come to pit road and get the fresh tires. The driver that's ahead of you has already passed pit road, so do you think that Hartz might actually want to ride around in that second position for the moment?
I mean, it's awfully generous for you to assume I'm going to run first and second, but I mean, the main thing is, once you decide that, at least to me, once you decide that a battle's not worth it, once you're losing ground, I mean, obviously the guy behind you, like, look at Ryan Hartz, he's trying to make a move on the inside. Once you realize that this is a losing battle, you've got a few options. You can either get in the back bumper, or at least the best you can of Ryan Hartz and force him to burn up his stuff before he wants to. Or you can try to take the more conservative route, saving tires, saving fuel, see if you can stretch out maybe a lap or two more, just to give yourself a little bit of an edge.
Right there, very smart. Matthew Bell saw that Hartz was wanting to pass him. He moved up the racetrack and then tucked right back in line, making sure he didn't lose any more positions. However, I don't know if it's just me, but it's looking like that 20 truck's not handling quite as well as it was earlier. He just a moment ago through 1 and 2 got down a little too low and started to wiggle, as I think he may have gotten that white line. So it's like the handling's going away just a little bit for him.
I mean, it may not be handling, but that thing is just fast in a straight line. Coming into the corners, he's got the aerodynamic properties in the corners. Ryan Hartz.
11 almost got the wall.
Ryan Hartz has been playing with that wall a little bit. Looks like he gotten some repairs earlier for it, but I mean that's been Matthew Bell's really big consistency point where he has been able just to haul, and he may not be flashy at times, but he is consistent. While Ryan Hartz, he's fast in certain periods, but there's laps and corners that he's just not that great at. Now I want to bring your attention back to some. Look at Shane Darian back here in 4th place. I mean, a few, 20, 30, 40 laps ago, he was 2 laps down. So, I mean, that's a big recovery. And he's got, I think he's got the newest tires out of this bunch. He pitted with that last restart. He's got a 12-lap-old tires, or 13-lap-old tires now.
That's actually a really good point, yeah, because a caution or 2 cautions ago, he would have gotten the lucky dog. When everybody else stayed out, he did come to pit lane. So that is a very good point. He's obviously going to probably have a little bit longer of a run on fresher tires than these guys ahead of him. And you can see, he can see them right there out of the windshield. So he is within striking distance, especially if these guys continue to battle side by side. That brings not only Theron, but also Grant Davis back up into the picture. It's a 4-driver fight for the lead right now.
I don't know about Grant Davis's chances to win. I mean, he's been able to pull out some real things before, but I mean, there's those days where you're fast, but you just don't have it. Your car's fast, but it just not all the pieces are working together. And I think this is one of those days where I don't think he has all the pieces set together, but he's definitely in a nice position for a good run.
He definitely played the mile-and-a-half strategy perfectly back when he, on the second caution, came to pit road, took only 2 tires. It gained him track position, and since then, he's been pretty much up inside the top 5 ever since then. So he's done a good job of utilizing a little bit of a short pit, gaining the track position, and he's been able to hold it very well.
Yeah, as you see, Matthew Bell managed to get back of Ryan Hart's, but look at Shane Theory, I mean, he is tracking them down. And you know what? He's loving Matthew Bell and Ryan Hart's fighting, and I'm sure they're in the same Discord with Matthew Bell and Ryan Hart's. They're trying to talk to each other, saying, hey, this side-by-side thing is not working. We have got to get away.
Also think about the fact, too, with the 38 coming to pit road 2 cautions ago, he'd be a little bit better on fuel. So that would mean that more than likely Bell... Oh! He got it pretty good, too. He pancaked that right side.
He was flirting with that wall for about 5-10 laps. I mean, obviously, there's a thing where you can fight it for as long as you can, but there gets to a point where you're just exhausted. There's been races where I've just, at the end of 100 laps, I mean, I feel absolutely drained. There's nothing else you can do, so fatigue is really going to start setting in.
Remember, we've seen a couple of drivers get that outside wall, try and continue on to keep their position, but the lap times just really start wearing down, so we'll have to see if Hartz is going to start losing ground to 5th, 6th on back, or if he'll be able to remain in 4th place and maybe get to pit road still in that position when the pit stop cycles begin. And here you go. It's kind of like a broken record. We were talking about this back during the first stage. It's back here in the second stage. Theron now hunting Bell for the race lead.
I think you guys are reasonably to see the irony in this, where Matthew Bell was on newer tires and Shane was on older tires. And
Rules are reversed.
You got Shane tracking Bell down, and it's the same thing where Bell is just getting about 168, 169 in the corners, where Shane can hold about a good consistent 171, 172, and that doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but over the course of 4 corners and a bunch of laps, I mean, you will catch.
It's also going to make up the difference too, because we've seen it with the fresher tires from the center of the corner off. That's where a lot of ground is going to be made up by the 38 truck. And it's interesting too. We knew we had the guaranteed caution with the stage ends. So when the first stage came to a completion, that's when you start looking at this race in reverse of how many pit stops do we have to take before we're going to be good to go the rest of the way to the checkered flag. And you got to wonder, who does that play the strategy into here? Does it play into the 38, who's got about maybe 10, 12 better laps on fuel? Or does it actually play out to the 20 of Bell?
Just to catch up with Ryan Hartz, I mean, he has dropped back to 8th position. He is not doing well. He's trying to hold it out to the next caution, next pit stop. Obviously, that's a big drop for him. You see Shane Therian, he's getting right in the back of the 20 of Matthew.
It's kind of interesting too. You bring up Ryan Hartz. We talked about back towards the close of stage 1, how Hartz has won 3 of the midway point stages in the races this season. In only one of those races did he manage to close it out with the win. The other 2, he did not close the deal. So it's
I've got to mention,
kind of looking like
these 2 have gotten into it last week. You think they remember?
Sometimes it doesn't carry over. Sometimes they don't think about it. But, if the 2 of them race each other hard and maybe rub doors a little bit, I guarantee you it will come back to the forefront of their minds.
Definitely hit the wall there at the back end just a little bit. Nothing too serious, but that does give Shane at least a little bit of opening to pull away. Now we
saw Shane Theron make the move there on the front straightaway, so now we're going to see how the 20 is going to handle not only with older tires, but also back in the draft in the dirty air.
So big note here, we're going to start seeing pit stops here in a few laps. Matthew Bell is currently 31 laps on his current stint. And Shane Therian is currently 23 laps, so they're going to need to pit here soon. I think Therian...
They'll be on pit road. I think at least the 20 will before lap 115.
I think Therian may have a shot to make this in one stop. I think currently, as the 20 runs, this may be a 2-stop race for him. I don't think they can go very many laps over a 30. So it could be a 1-stop, 2-stop.
It all depends on when he makes that pit stop that we'll be able to start making projections. So you're right. Yeah, like I said, we didn't know, at least back a couple of laps ago, we didn't know just exactly based on what we project they can go for laps on fuel, who it was actually going to benefit. But I think you're right. It looks like at this point in time, the 38 could make it on one more stop, and the 20 may have to make 2 pit stops before the conclusion of this race. But then again, we're making all these speculations. We could have a caution come out, and that throws all that strategy out the window.
Big mover. It's worth noting that Gavin Cohn over the weekend, he actually changed teams to align themselves with both Bell and I can't find now Ryan Hartz. That move definitely looks like a tell. But Austin Johnson, man, he gets loose again. Austin Johnson is
a couple of drivers right there that have done a good job with coming back. Austin Johnson, who we saw get involved in the last 2 cautions, and also how about Trenton Jump, who we saw sideways crossing the start-finish line back, I think it was on the 4th caution. He's now worked his way back up, now taking the 5th position away from Gavin Cohn. So good comeback both for the 39 and the 46.
I will say Austin Johnson just has not looked comfortable in this car. I mean, every lap he's been just fighting it. Again, I'm going to stress this. It mentally and physically takes a toll on you. Yes, you get into a rhythm of how the car's going to act in a corner and you're getting ready to catch it, but hey, it will throw you out of those rhythms where, hey, in this one lap, it's not going to act like the next lap. So, I mean, that will catch you off.
Pit stops have begun. A couple of drivers in. Spencer Hinton, the 42, Gavin Cohn in the 69, both from inside of the top 10. So it now begins. A couple of guys back in the latter portion of the top 10. So the question is now, when do our front runners come to pit road?
Definitely, I'd say Shane Therian can go way further than Matthew Bell. That's not a question. It's just how far they want to put this. I'm going to guarantee you if Matthew Bell dives down the pit road, you're going to see Shane Therian follow him next lap. If Shane Therian dives down the pit road, you're even going to see Matthew Bell follow him in or follow him in next lap.
I think right now the goal for these guys to somewhere reach maybe lap 115 or so, as Bell's going to hit pit road now. I mean, we projected about maybe 33 to 35 laps they're able to make it on a tank of fuel. So I think if they can get to maybe lap 115, they should be able to make it the rest of the way.
It was worth noting that Matthew Bell was actually on his longest stint. He was running about 34, 38 laps on that single set. Shane Therian's currently on a 29 lap stint. Here's a guy who's been pretty silent.
Saw Bell on pit road. Grant Davis has pitted. Logan Brakey has made a pit stop as well.
Shane Therian has not come down yet, so it looks like he's going to try and run it out with his rest of his fuel run and hope for the fresher time. Also, I think he may be thinking of if another caution comes out, he can trap Matthew Bell hopefully a lap down.
That could be a strategy. The only thing I would worry about is if we don't get that caution, if Bell can make it on fuel, how much ground is Therian going to lose to him on the older tires compared to the new tires that the 20 truck is putting on right now?
I mean, definitely look at the speed difference between the 38 and the 20. I mean, the 38 can only carry about 168 in the corners currently, and the 20 car can carry about 171 in the corners, 172, 73, 74. I mean, he's hauling. So, I mean, obviously it's kind of the reverse situation what we just experienced. I mean, he's going to start running him down lap by lap, and that's going to keep growing until he drops down the pit road and gets those new tires. Now, obviously, you've got to think of Shane here. Shane here is a little bit of restrictions or a little bit of a thought process on this is immediately when I get new tires, I've got to go through a warming process. So I've been out here 32 laps on these old tires. That's been nice and warm for me. Now I'm going to be immediately dropping and going to cold tires. I mean, that's a big difference for a lot of drivers to handle.
Let's go back to another role reversal too. Back, I think it was on the first round of pit stops, Therian was the first one to come to pit road. When he came out with the fresher tires, he came around and took the lead from Bell. Well, Bell this time is the first one to come to pit road, so we'll see if he's going to now get the lead on green flag pit stops from Therian.
Yeah, see Therian pitting. Currently, Austin Johnson will take over the top spot. He has not pitted yet. Robert F. Kenny is behind him. Look at Matthew Bell. I mean, he is hauling. That shows you the big difference between old tires and new tires. I mean, look at how fast Matthew Bell is. I mean, he is. I mean, if Austin Johnson was not on that bottom line, Bell would be long gone.
No doubt about it. And I mean, let's also not take away the fact that 39 is a fast truck. I think he's been up as high as third today. So that just shows you that a strong truck with old tires is just absolutely no contest against a strong truck with fresh tires.
I mean, realistically, replace that 39 paint scheme with the 38 car. I mean, that will show you how much this difference has been. Now, you gotta
just saw it right there, a possible exchange for the lead. The 38 coming off pit road, and the 20 went around him for the lead. So Matthew Bell, if all cycles around, could very well be the race leader as Johnson.
I don't think he sped getting on the pit road, but that definitely was
I think he was okay. He barely made it.
That definitely was a panic moment. Jared Matthews also pitting. Oh, wow, he's sliding on the pit road.
Ooh.
Texas is known for one of its more tricky pit road entries, especially with that apron there. Matthew Bell is now going to be our leader when he comes back around. Grant Davis is the next closest one to him, but he's 2 seconds back. Shane Therian is calling down, trying to chase Grant Davis. But you got to think here, Shane Therian has 4 lap newer tires than Matthew Bell. I don't know how much is going to aid him, but he's got 27 laps.
Yeah, and exactly. He's only got 27 laps. If he had a longer amount of time to maybe be able to do something, then I would think, okay, maybe he's got a shot. But the fact that he's currently running, I don't know what the interval is. We'll see what the interval is between himself and Bell. Plus, he's got Grant Davis in between him and the race leader. It's like it's about like 3.3 seconds right now between first and third. So I don't know if 27 will be about 25 laps in a moment. Don't know if that's enough time to be able to run down the 20.
But you also got to pay attention. Matthew Bell did pit 7 laps ago, and the fuel range seems to be anywhere from 25 laps to 35 laps. But 35 laps was having a bunch of laps under caution. Matthew Bell's going to have to back it down a little bit if he wants to save and manage to get to the end. So, I mean, Shane Therian doesn't have to worry at all. He can just full throttle it the entire way.
It's a fantastic point. You're right, because like I said, the target lap that these guys would be looking for would be around 115. And if I remember correctly, I think Bell came to pit road on lap 113. And as you brought out, we had those 2 early cautions here when we started the second stage. So that gave him a little bit of extra time to save fuel. So yeah, big question mark on whether or not he can make it the rest of the way, especially if we remain green. If he gets a caution, maybe he can save a little bit to make it the rest of the way. But if we stay clean and green to the checkers, yeah, whether he can make it or not is going to be the big question mark.
Shane Therian is tracking down Grant Davis. And definitely that's helping with Eric Stamp on the high side. As you see,
so not only, he's also tracking down the leader. His lap times have actually been about maybe a tenth and a half faster than the 20, which makes me wonder, could the 20 be in a little bit of fuel conservation right now?
It's worth noting that Shane has the best lap on the track. I mean, he has pulled a 29.761 when the other, like the next best lap on the track was his 29.920, which was by Matthew Bell himself. So, I mean, just look at how he's hauling. Like, I don't say this very often, but that is a man on a mission. He is determined to reach that number of that 20.
He has to as well, because, I'm certain that his crew chief in his ear is letting him know how many laps are left. And every lap that ticks away is one less lap that he is able to close up the distance between himself and the 20. Right now, the interval is about maybe 2.2 seconds. He has been able to close up the gap by a full second in the last 5 laps or so. So he is definitely a lot faster. The question is, does he have the time? Does he have the truck? Does he have the tires to reel that 20 truck in?
I can tell you from exact experience what Shane's going through right now. I see Bronson Stafford currently in his radio channel. I can tell you it's just go get him. Make sure Bell does not win this race. I mean, that's the thing is, this is going to be a big redemption for him if he manages to track down Bell, which is, I mean, last week he got pushed a little bit from the lead by Matthew Bell, and obviously there's some very sour feelings over that. Those have all been sorted out, but Shane would love nothing more than to knock Matthew Bell to second place.
And obviously he wants to win, but I think even with where he's running right now is a big redemption story for where he was situated back during the halfway point of this race. He was a lap down. He didn't even get the lucky dog at the stage-ending caution. He was able to then get back in the lead lap, and he's been able to fight his way back up to the lead, currently running in second. So it has been a comeback day for him already, And obviously the cherry on top would be if he could take and wrestle this win away, as you mentioned.
That evil controllers machine has his sights set on the man in front. That Red Bull machine is just trying to run as fast as he can, but I don't think he can run away from this.
I don't think he can either. You can definitely see the gap is continuing to close up. The lap times, it's 0.3 faster, Theron, compared to Bell. He is closing visibly. He is closing on the telemetry, and he's obviously got a truck that can make passes too, because we saw when he had reeled the 20 truck in before those pit stops, he was able to make the pass on the front straightaway. So I think that might be his bread and butter there off of turn 4. If he catches Bell, I think that might be where he'll make his move.
I have to ask you, I mean, both of us been in this situation before, and both of us have very different ideas about going around this. But, I mean, you know you're being caught. You're a little bit slower than the guy behind you, and he is tracking you down. You know it. You know once he gets up to you, I mean, he's going to try everything to get around you. But what kind of strategy do you deploy just to make sure, like, hey, I'm going to hold him up for as long as possible, just to hope for a caution or something that can be a saving grace for me?
See, here's the problem. With Matthew Bell coming to pit road sooner than Theron did, his tires are going to be older. He's not going to have quite the amount of grip that Theron would. His hope is he's going to be able to try and hook the bottom and force Theron to go around on the top side, maybe make a mistake and overstep the cushion. The problem is he won't be able to do very much defending on the straightaways, and that's where a lot of the passing's been going on here today. So yeah, he'll be able to hold him off, and wait a minute.
Down. He's coming down.
He's on pit road.
That's a bold move because he's not even in his fuel cycle yet.
See, here's the thing. If he is not within his fuel cycle, does this mean he does not think the 38 can make it? I mean, remember a lot of our speculation back on the first round of pit stops were with a lot of cautions beforehand. I think we had 2 cautions in the early stages. So we really haven't seen on a full fuel run how far these guys can go. So now the question is, can Theron make it? And I think he's coming maybe to pit road this time. But no, he's not. I thought he might be slowing, but this is interesting.
That's a big concern, and I'd be very concerned if Matthew Bell was pitting and I didn't, because you got to think, even though it was a 4-lap difference, and again, that shows you the volumes that 4 laps difference on tires can do. I was chasing Matthew Bell down from 2 seconds back. I was hauling. I was burning up my stuff. You've got to think, if Matthew Bell doesn't think he can make it and he pitted 4 laps before me, that puts me in a big concern here. Can I make it?
Here's another thing that you might have to think about, though, too. If you're Theron, you came to pit road about 3-4 laps after Matthew Bell did. If Bell knows for certain he can't make it on fuel, he might be coming to pit road now, just trying to pick up whatever spots he can. He's a 3-time winner, so he might be just going out, trying to pick up whatever spots he can here in the closing stages. If you're Theron, you can maybe start backing it down a little bit now, start saving, and maybe have enough to make it to the end. Well, that's true. You got Davis right behind you.
Grant Davis is just coming, man. I think Shane does not think he can make it.
I think he's saving. I think the way the 25 closed in on him as quickly as he did, I think the 38 is saving right now.
I mean, obviously, you get those situations where you've got to ask your crew chief, can I make it? And typically that answer is, I need you to slow down by so many tenths a lap, or I just need you to let him go. There's no way you can fight him for it. You're not going to fight him and make it to the end on the field. Shane may be coming down. No, I thought he was coming down that time.
He's backed off his times. He's backed it off. He's only going about maybe 167, 168 through the center of the corner. Before we were seeing him go about 172, 173. So he is backing off his pace. It looks like Grant Davis may be doing the same as well. I think these guys are trying to make it to the end on fuel.
Grant Davis is in a much worse situation than Shane here, at least by the lap count. Shane Theron pitted 17 laps ago. Grant Davis did pit 21 laps ago with Matthew Bell. I mean, you've got to think, even though Grant has been saving this entire time, and maybe that's what he's been planning, he has been just unimpressive this entire time because he thought he could not make it. So he's saving fuel while those two battled out. And now Grant thinks he has enough to go. And now we get to that point with Matthew Bell, Shane Theron, where it's kind of that termination of, do I let him go and try to save fuel and hope I make it? Or do I fight for it and still hope I've got enough time to either A, save fuel, or B, just hang on?
It's looking to me almost like there's been a couple of times that Theron's been trying to let the 25 go by him, and Davis says, no, I want to stay in your draft. I want to be able to save fuel in the wake of your draft. And so I think right now that Davis is having the advantage of being able to save a little bit more fuel than the 38 of Theron. The thing that I think is important right now, we saw the 20 hit pit road. He's trapped a lap down, so he's got a lot of ground to make up if these guys can't make it on fuel. You know, if they're saving, they can back it down even more, because even though they would lose some time to the 20, I don't think they would lose enough where they would lose the race lead or second place if you're Grant Davis.
And just look at the last lap. Grant Davis turned at 31.132, and Shane, he's backed it down to a 30.9. Grant,
we're running about 30.2s, 30.3s around the time that they were battling with each other, talking about Bell and Theron.
And just to give you an example of what a race lap is, at least at race pace, Trenton Jump just pulled a 30.0 that last lap. I mean, it's worth noting that they're trying. It looks like those top two are just trying to save fuel, and they don't think they can make it. But that definitely opens up the door for anyone behind them who thinks they've saved enough or thinks they haven't.
I mean, right now, as you mentioned, 30.7 for Theron, 30.6 for Davis, but both 4th and 5th place, Jump and Hinton, ran in the mid-31s, so they are saving a lot more fuel, perhaps backing it down a lot more. And to your point, if these top two cannot make it on fuel, somebody back there like Trenton Jump, Spencer Hinton, might be able to make it due to the fact that they've backed it off even more than the top two.
8 laps to go here.
I might be wrong, and maybe it's completely different, but if you noticed right there on that onboard with the 25, it looked like the 38 bogged down in the center of the corner. I think that Shane Theron may have just clutched it for a brief moment, so I think he is definitely doing everything he can to save fuel.
I mean, just looking at the telemetry on the 38, I mean, he was just trying some tricks. I mean, I don't have a doubt that Grant Davis can make it. I mean, he has been saving, but I think he's a little bit concerned about actually making it here, even after going to battle Shane. I think he just wants to be in that point where he thinks he's guaranteed to at least make it no matter how hard he runs.
Grant Davis, based on what we've seen here today so far, I don't think he's got a truck strong enough to wrestle the lead away from Theron. I think right now he's just hoping he has enough fuel, a little bit more fuel rather, than Theron does, so that way if the 38 runs out, then he's going to be able to pass him and still be able to make it to the checkered flag. As of right now, I think his goal is basically to save more fuel than the 38, not to pass him.
I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, Grant has not been impressive. I mean, he has not been flashy, he has not been dominating, but it's one of those days where it's good enough. You can't put all the pieces together, but you've got a good car, you've got maybe not the fastest car, but you've got a good mindset, and you're just hoping to strategize your way in or just luck your way in. And I'm sure he'd kill me if they told me he was going to luck his way into a win, but I mean, it's just, there's some days where you cannot put all the pieces together by yourself, and sometimes you just need a little bit of strategy or a little bit of luck to come help you out.
Well, let's throw a monkey wrench into all of this. Spencer Hinton was saving a lot, but he just hit pit road. And here comes Davis to pit road as well.
Davis doesn't think he can make it, so that puts a big question mark on Shane Theron. He definitely needs to start backing these laps down if he thinks he can't make it. He's backing the corners down to about 160 when he was running about 168 out of the corners. So he's definitely trying to back down his...
Seeing the 25 come to pit road as soon as he did with 4 laps to go, I don't know if it's possible that Theron was able to save 4 laps of fuel.
I don't think he can make it. I don't think he can do it. And look at Matthew Bell. I mean, he's the car first lap down, but you see how far he's fallen.
But this is going to be really interesting. 3 laps now as there's a car down on the apron. Brakey perhaps on the 29?
No, not Logan Brakey, I don't think. I think that may have been the 25 car.
Right, it was Davis.
The 25 car looks like it's losing an engine here. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's trailing smoke.
Maybe he downshifted when he wasn't supposed to and just over-revved it, but I mean, these engines are not known for being very fragile. These gearboxes are known for going out more. See Shane Theron hoping he's backing laps down so much. He's hoping that he's got about 3 miles of fuel in that tank still. And Theron, this would be a master plan by him. Just, I mean, even after the bad strategy call to begin this race, I mean, coming back like this, I mean, it's in the books. It looks like a dominating win. Austin Johnson, I mean, he's had an up and down race, but if he finishes this thing out in second, I mean, that's a really good race for him. Robert Kenny in fourth. I wish he would.
But here's the thing: Thieren is over 5 seconds ahead of second place, so he can save even more.
I mean, he doesn't even have to throttle off the corner; he can coast.
Coast it, yeah, right. Coast it right through 3 and 4.
See Shane Thieren.
How about that fuel strategy? I was really wondering if he could make it. I think he's out. He's coasting it. He's out of fuel.
Austin Johnson.
He is out of fuel, and he's going to coast it across, I think.
Oh,
that was close.
That's called having it right to the tee.
Right to the minute point.
So, Shane Thieren will be your winner here at Texas. That was a nail biter for him. But you got to be thinking.
Yeah, it was.
He was planning that whole thing this entire.
And you go back to when he started to decide to save fuel, and you think about when he decided to do it, he almost didn't make it to the start-finish line. That truck ran out of fuel out of turn 4, and Johnson was still in the throttle and almost was able to sneak away this victory. But, I mean, look at Thieren. Let's take a look back at the first half of this race. He was a lap down, and he's able to coast on fumes across the start-finish line to take the checkers.
Definitely a big race for him, and talk about a redemption story coming back from that. And
Absolutely.
You know, the biggest thing, the interval from the 38 to the 39 car, less than a second.
Yeah, it was really close. I mean, if he had run out maybe about 100, 200 feet earlier, maybe in the center of 3 and 4, there is no way he would have beat Austin Johnson to the line.
And why there's two different sides of his story. I mean, there comes from the Shane Thieren side that's great, that's amazing. But there also comes from the disappointment side of Austin Johnson. I mean, you'll see Shane come in the distance, and you can see the heart drop. It's like, I can't make it. I can't do it. And you see him up there. You see Shane. You see him riding back. You see him dropping back. You see Austin. He's on the gas, trying everything to reach him. You see Shane there. You see him dropping back. You see him dropping back, hauling. That's the heart sink that I just can't make it. I can't do it. That's the big.
There's not enough racetrack.
Disappointment. And
Austin Johnson would have loved to have taken this victory, but I think that he will definitely be glad with the points day of a second place run coming in that critical 8th position in points.
Yeah, and it's worth noting with that. I mean, that's the stuff that shockingly will keep you up at night. It just, I'm going to tell you, I'll probably make him go to sleep tonight. Like, well, I could have ran this corner better. I could have not spun. And I probably would have had a better aero set up, and I wouldn't have had any problem with that. I mean, it's just the thoughts that keep you up at night.
If you look here at our top 3, though, I mean, talk about the days of comebacks. We already have documented about Thieren. You had Johnson. He was involved in 2 wrecks, 2 cautions. He was able to battle back for second, and Trenton Jump, he also got involved in a wreck with his teammate on the front straightaway and battled back for third. So, a lot of comeback stories up here inside of the top 3.
I mean, look at Robert Kenny. I mean, he fought for that lucky dog. I mean, he stayed on the lead lap. Only 5 cars on the lead lap, but I mean, Matthew Bell earned his lap back the hard way by just driving by the leaders. But 6 cars, past 6. I mean, just some big names. I mean, Eric Stamp was involved in that incident with his own teammate and wasn't even in a situation of his own choosing, and he managed to rally back for 6th. Herman Hart, again, he was one of those who was involved in that same incident. Logan Brakey, he's had some up and downs, but he managed to pull it back here in 9th. Shane Abbey, I mean, he had someone we have not talked about the entire race. I mean, just silently staying in for 10th. Spencer Hilton, I mean, he's had an up and down day, managed to rally back for an 8th. Just going down the field here. I mean, Grant Davis, that's a big letdown for him. I mean,
it is.
You got to think. I mean, you were second. If you would have saved a little bit more, even if you couldn't have won the race, that's a big thing that you got to think about. Gavin Cohn, that's another unfortunate incident. I mean, he was up in the 5th place, and this looks like bad fuel strategy. Ryan Hartz is another heartbreaker. I mean, he was up there in the lead, fighting for second, smacked the wall. I mean, he just never recovered. Looks like he finished the race 39 laps down. Austin Gatorex, Bronson Stafford's another sad story. I mean, got into an incident, just not of his own choosing. That's the big story here. So let's go ahead and we'll bring in our 3rd place of Trenton Jump. Hello, Trenton. This is Matthew in the FRN booth. Got me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
All righty. Well, I mean, that was an interesting race for you. I mean, let's run it from the top. You had a good restart. Then I believe on the second restart, you got tagged lever on the side. You lost about 5 positions. You batted your way back up. Then another caution happens. You get ready to pit. You pit. You get back. You're running. Brakey gets loose. Kind of knocks you out of line. You overcorrect, get into an accident with your own teammate, and then you battle back for a third place finish. I mean, how does it feel?
It feels pretty good. I mean, it was crazy race. I mean, I didn't think it was going to turn out the way it did just because of how hot the track was. But I mean, the last run was sketchy. I stayed up to the last minute on the last pit stop, and then after that, I was running 3/4 throttle the last 20 laps. I'm not going to lie. I was like, yeah, I'm going to push, and I started watching my fuel. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to make it. So I ran 3/4 throttle, and I came across the line, and it just started sputtering. So
Yeah, definitely. It looks like we managed to, or at least we miscalculated the fuel window for you guys because we thought the fuel window is around 30, 35 laps. I mean, looking at that last, what was it, last laps, Shane Therian ran out with 29 laps on his car. I mean, were we somewhat correct around 30s?
yeah,
When you
30.
guys started running out?
30 was about the limit as far as you could go. I mean, I'm sure if you actually saved, which you would have lost a ton of time here, you couldn't save. I mean, I was lucky to save what I did to limp home, and I pitted with 30 to go. So
One thing that we were noticing with this race was obviously everyone was fighting for the bottom. But one thing that didn't seem to really happen that we typically see at the 1.5 mile tracks is if you're running in the wake of a truck in front of you, normally you would think that the truck would get tight and it would be harder to be able to turn the truck. But it looked like actually running in the draft of somebody was actually what you needed to make the slingshots on the front and back straightaway. Was that how it felt in the cockpit?
yeah, and it was kind of weird because like you never got tight behind anybody, and the truck actually drove way better when you were tucked up behind somebody. But like even like I mean, new tires versus old tires, there really wasn't much of a difference until the ends of the run is when you would really notice. So, I mean, it was totally weird on my part from just seeing how the truck drove, and I just couldn't believe how it drove when you were tucked right up behind somebody, how well it drove.
But absolutely, I mean, that was an amazing race, just amazing recovery out of you. I mean, do you have anyone you want to shout out or say thank?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out all the admins. I'm one of the admins of the league, but we've been busting our asses week in, week out, just to try to get everything straightened out and make this league run smooth. And it's the races like that, or the races like this week, that we really enjoy running this league because it all goes smoothly. We don't have problems, and it ends up being a good time for everybody. And that's all we're trying to do here. And I want to thank Bud Light and Justin Teal for painting my trucks. They look absolutely phenomenal. So I can't thank them guys enough for everything they do for me.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us. I'll go ahead and I'll turn you back down to the waiting room. We'll go ahead and pull in the second place driver. So, well, congrats on your third place run. Almost moved myself out of the room. So let's go ahead.
Been amazing.
Yeah, you watched that. I'm going to pull in our second place driver, Austin Johnson. I mean, I'll go ahead and let Seth lead off here.
Austin, Seth Cole up here in the Flatout Racing Network booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, a second place run, and talk about an up and down day. I mean, your truck looked really strong in the first stage, and then the second stage, you end up getting involved in 2 cautions. But there at the end, I mean, obviously, you wanted to win this race, but was there anything you could have done differently to have been able to beat the 38 as he was sputtering off of turn 4?
I don't know. I mean, I did make a really bad call pitting before the stage ended. I thought it would be doing something good, but it didn't do anything good for me. It did worse. So I was a lap down. I had to get that back. And then, yeah, if I maybe would have stayed up there, maybe I could have got him, but I don't know.
Definitely looked like, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I just lost my train of thought.
I was just going to say, too, it was looking like a lot of drivers out there were having difficulty with running up in the middle groove, maybe a little bit higher than that. You seemed to actually go up there a couple of times and actually make it work. It looked like the truck was starting to snap around, but you were able to hang on to it. Was there anything to be gained with running up a little bit higher out of somebody's draft?
No, not much. I think I just had good tires because I think I pitted some cautions after, and some other people didn't. So I had a little bit more fuel. That's why I was really going hard trying to get Shane there at the end, but I couldn't. I was that close, but the outside lane, I don't think it was that much better than the inside.
Yeah, I definitely have to say, I mean, that was definitely a heartbreak. I mean, seeing Shane slow coming to the line, I mean, you were 1 second back. I mean, does that hurt? Does that sting, or does that just, does that give you more encouragement to go out next week and just?
Yeah, I mean, if there was like maybe like a little bit more track, obviously I could have gotten him. I was talking to him. He shut the car off, knowing his gas or knowing the gap we had, and he just saved a little fuel so he can do some burnouts.
Definitely. So I'll go ahead and I'll give you the opportunity if anyone you want to say thanks to or shout out.
I just want to shout out Wild Horse Racing. Jacob and Adrian were in the with me at the beginning of the race and talked me through it. But yeah, it was a long race, long green flag runs. It was fun.
Well, congratulations on your second place finish. I'll go ahead and I'll turn you back down to the waiting room where you can go ahead and talk with Trent and Shane, but I'll pull Shane in here in just a moment.
All right, thank you.
Now is our second place finisher.
Real quick before you bring our race winner in here, just want to point out too, really important day for Austin Johnson because he came in the 8th position in points. He finishes ahead of Herman Hart, who is 5 points behind. And of course, we already had documented earlier with Kaz Bedford, who was only 1 point behind him coming into this race. He obviously with the DNF, Johnson with a second place run, the highest he had run all day. He was, I think, as high as 3rd, but he finished as 2nd. So this is huge for him to have a nice cushion between himself and that 8th in the standings cut line going into the Monster Mile.
Yeah, definitely. So let me go ahead and pull in Shane, and I'll go ahead and I'll ask him that first question. Well, Shane, this is Matthew in the FRN booth. Definitely a little bit different talking to you for an end review rather than yelling at you the entire race.
I don't like it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to ask you,
Matt, make him feel at
how
home.
in the world are you so good that you missed the entirety of practice, and you just come out and just almost dominate this race in the second?
I don't know. I tend to do that.
And a controller, no less.
Now, when I was deployed to Guam, upper edge would start right when I'd be able to go on my 2-hour lunch break, but the practice would start an hour before that, so it would always race with no practice. So I think I just got used to just not having practice. I just worked better that way, apparently.
But definitely.
Well, we were doing the best we could, on that first stage, trying to figure out just exactly what the fuel, how many laps you could make it on a tank of fuel. When we saw the 25 have to hit pit row with about 4 laps to go, was there anything in the back of your mind of thinking, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can't make it to the checkers?
No, I knew he couldn't make it. I was actually trying to help him make it. I was like, I'm going to slow down and keep you in my draft to see if you can make it, because I had better tires and more fuel. I could just drive harder if I wanted to, but I decided to help Grant. But it didn't work out. He was 3 laps short. I knew no one that didn't pit when I got the lucky dog that they weren't going to make it on one stop. So,
I mean, that was definitely. Did you have it planned that it exactly would just run out the line, or was that just kind of like a? Was that just
so I didn't run out. I was about to, so I just cut my engine off so I could do a burnout.
I think back home we call that narcissism.
Yeah, well, I got to do a burnout.
So I'll go ahead and I'll give you the opportunity if you want to shout out anyone or say thanks.
Well, thank you guys for broadcasting. I didn't have to hear Matt yelling at me all race, so that was fun.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll get that back next week.
But I'm going to thank Adrenaline for the league. It's getting way better. This was a tough setup early on with the tires. So the fact we even had green flag pit stops, not once but twice, and then have a long green flag run was great. So that it's getting better. And I'm just gonna shout out Ela Controllers. I got them another win this season, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just seeing how you came back from early race adversity. I mean, that was awesome. I mean, I got to ask, how much was Bronson yelling?
Well, Bronson wasn't yelling at me. He was more mad at the fact that our strategy would have worked if he didn't get wrecked. But you know, it, Bronson always has that luck when he wants to do my strategy. He can't. He gets the crap end of the stick every time.
See, I just had the patented Seth Cole strategy, but I'll go ahead and let you celebrate your win. Thank you very much for speaking with us, Shane.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so that was our
The
first
patented
place
Seth
finisher.
Cole strategy. I'm confused.
Well, the patented Seth Cole strategy is we start running in the back, and then you say, let me
Operation
try
Flamingo
this.
Burger now revealed to the world. I see how it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you say, let's try this. And I'm like, well, I don't have a strategy, so sure, I'll do that. That sounds great.
Why not? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. More often it doesn't.
Listen, I'm a simple man. You just step on the gas and turn left.
I can do that.
But that definitely was an exciting race here. So Adrenaline will be off for I think the next 2 weeks for the Christmas break. You will have Charles back with VRN at Dover with the new year of 2020 in January. I mean, going forward, I mean, that definitely was an exciting race. I mean, you can carry momentum forward with that with Austin Johnson. I mean, obviously, I feel for him there. He had a chance.
He definitely had a chance, but going back to what Shane said as well, with the fact of a lot of drivers were having issues with the setup and practice. We had the fact there was absolutely no grip at the beginning of this race. The fact that we were able to have as few cautions as we did and 2 rounds of green flag pit stops was actually really impressive and a great credit to all the drivers that took part in the race. And typical mile-and-a-half fashion, somebody decides to stretch it on the fuel. We had that smaller gas tank, and it was Shane Theron that was able to do it. And, more often than not, it comes down to the driver that's willing to take that kind of a risk. And Theron was able to capitalize and reap the reward, getting his 2nd win on the season.
Yeah, definitely. So I believe that will be all for us here today. That was your Texas race. I don't know if we can really top that, but we'll be back here on Monday night with Elite Racing League's Martinsville cutoff race.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll be back here with one more Wednesday showing of the NNSCRA Winter Classic. Thursday, we'll be here with the Sim Racers Mental Health race at Irwindale. I don't know if we're going to do the figure 8. I'm trying to talk them into it. And then we'll cap off our 2019 opening season with the Elite Grand Sports Car League. So I'll be running at Watkins Glen. And we've got a few more surprises planned for that, but I think that'll be all for us today.
Also want to shout out too as well. We had last night we had the SRA Christmas Hollow Drive where we kind of began our campaign for the Stand Up to Cancer fundraiser, but that's still going to be going on until the 28th. So with all the events that we've got coming up here in the next week and a half to 2 weeks, down in the description below, at least I know for the YouTube side of things, the link is there for our Tiltify channel, our link. So if you want to go over and you want to donate to a great cause, do that. And if you want to at least help out, share the link to all your social media, share it with your friends and everything, because there may be someone out there that will be willing to donate, and every little bit helps.
Yeah, definitely. So that'll be all from us here today at the Flatout Racing Network. I'm Matthew Rodriguez, and I was fortunately partnered with Seth Cole. We'll go